Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series on homeopathy with our beloved Dr. Pachegaonkar. Namaste. Today, you suggested that we take up this most interesting COVID topic, the latest variant, Omicron.
Yes.
Very good. It will be very interesting to hear what you say about it because there's so much going on in the world and so many varying opinions.
This variant, it surfaced in South Africa and supposed to be, it got mutated in the hosts who were affected with HIV, who had immunocompromise. It's postulated. But this is known that each virus will not be same. During multiplication or growth, there would be mutations, so many mutations. Most of the characteristics will be same, but there would be variation.
Well, this is what we heard about flu shots. You had to
Yes.
get a different flu shot
Yes.
every year.
Yes. So same way this has come, like dengue, the measles, chicken pox, even COVID has this variant. But this is supposed to be highly transmissible. In the sense, like, see, earlier COVID-19, we were knowing that it is a close contact or droplets for a while. They would be open and the contact, or close contact, if the person comes, like sneezes out, and only those droplets fall upon someone and then they come in contact with the mucous membrane and they would be surviving for few hours. Now this Omicron, this new variant which has come from South Africa, is supposed to be highly transmissible, in the 7-8 times more transmissible than even Delta. But only one good point is that the gravity of infections is not there. Most probably because many even vaccinated people or who have had COVID-19 infection earlier, they also have developed it. So the symptoms are very mild, though the transmissibility is more. So the whole world has come into panic now, that because they have faced this Delta variant has caused a lot of mortality and a lot of problems with the health machinery. And this machinery now is scared of facing another wave in the form of this Omicron. But the people who have been affected, they are showing milder symptoms. And many times this is again sort of a dangerous thing, in a sense you don't get grave symptoms. So even the people even don't realize that they are the carriers. Maybe there are like some occasional sneezing, running nose, and person is carrying this COVID-19 variant and would be spreading it very fast. So therefore again many countries have come down. See, within 1 week it has spread to 18 countries now. And every day it is said to be doubling the population. Every day.
Is there any possibility that, for example, my people working with me at Matrimandir, almost all of them have come down with slight fever and sneezing? Could it be that?
We can't say, because you see, this sneezing, running nose with weather change is common. There would be no nose which doesn't get, sneezing and running
Past
nose.
2 or 3 days and it's gone completely.
Yes. So the ordinary influenza also causes this.
Okay.
So we can't say this is the variant, but one thing is there, that it is rampantly spreading. Like in India also, there were yesterday there were only 2 cases. Now they have more than 1,000 cases which are suspected to be of this variant. But now what happens, even taking the sample to the laboratory and isolating it and then coming to conclusion also takes some time. So as a precaution, they have isolated all these suspected cases, but they are in thousands. And now till yesterday, 18 countries had this variant now.
What about fatalities?
Fatality is supposed to be very low. See, as such, this COVID-19, even Delta also had gone, and both the waves, our India has mortality of 1.36% of affected people, the lowest in the world.
And what is the normal fatality rate in India per year?
Yes, yes, but that though it's difficult to say, because what happens, these Delta COVID-19, they also contribute to even regular, even without any epidemic. Also, there would be mortality.
Exactly.
So this become just a means to, anyway, a person will succumb to somewhere the other, either to cancer or terminal illness,
Yes.
or some complication. But looking at that, the mortality in India is very low in COVID. They say because hardly 1.36. And there were many people, maybe COVID 19 was just a coincidence. So it's very low. Even developed countries like Italy and all had more than 7, more than 8 sometimes percent of mortality with affected people. But India, it was only 1.36, which is very low. But now, funniest part is already people have contacted. See, in India, more than like 100 crore people have received vaccination. 120 crores. At least one dose they have received. And there are many people who have had COVID 19 infection, subclinical or clinical. So, therefore, like 95% of Indian population has developed resistance, developed antibodies against COVID 19. So, definitely, this exercise of having antibodies with COVID 19 earlier variants would help these people to cope up with this new variant. So you remember during March 2020, when the COVID-19 was not that rampant in India, we were discussing that this wave will come, people will develop immunity against it, and then it will remain like a occasional illness like measles, chickenpox, or even mumps. So here in India, there would be very few children who don't get measles or chickenpox or mumps as a child. Almost everyone gets it, and everyone overcomes it, and definitely is being benefited by that, unless there are other complications. So these diseases are not fatal. So same thing will happen even with the COVID. This is not going to disappear. It is not possible to eradicate it completely. But definitely we can develop our immunity, and we don't remain vulnerable to this disease. So there will be people who will just get it. They may be carrier for 1 or 2 days, and then they will just come out of that infection as a subclinical infection. Same thing happens with polio. In India, the health machineries were, mission. They were trying to eradicate polio for last 35-40 years, and they have been vaccinating children. Oral vaccination in polio they have been giving. But you see, there are many children who get polio infection, and it passes off subclinically without developing any complication. So same thing will happen even with COVID-19. People won't be scared of it. They will get it. They will recover from it with little bit of indisposition like feverish feeling or cold. Because this variant is not even causing fever. It's only some little bit of sore throat, sneezing, and running nose, and that's all. Not even that toxicity. Even person doesn't even realize that he has had it. There are patients now, even in Karnataka, also Bangalore, the one person who's a health worker, doctor himself, he doesn't have symptoms because he was in contact with a person who came from South Africa. He was tested, and he is positive for this variant, but he doesn't have symptoms. He's fine.
Have they done any tests on ages for susceptibility? Children?
Yeah, that's what they say. The children are, even if they contract this infection, they don't develop this disease. Therefore, children, they are supposed to be, resistant to this. Of course, there are multiple reasons. See what happens in these viral diseases. it is our own hyperimmune response which becomes killer. Actually, the main toll is taken by our own hyperimmune response, that cytokine storm we call it. So in children, that sort of hyperimmune response is not there because children have not developed type of antibodies or reaction. They don't have. They are susceptible to these infections. They catch it, and their system doesn't overreact. So therefore, children were less vulnerable, and therefore there was a section in our health authorities that you allow children to go to school, mix freely, and get it. So they will definitely develop good immunity as a child. Instead of elders being exposed to this, children can be exposed to this. And even till date, you see the vaccination in India is not given below 18. But even then, the COVID has been under control. See, this population under 18 in India has not been vaccinated. But the virulence of disease has come down. We are getting not even 5% cases of what we used to get. What does it indicate? That means the young population, children, they are not susceptible to this disease at all.
Could you speak? I know this is a volatile question, but could you speak a little on this lockdown theory and also on people like this Dr. Fauci, who is being very severely criticized now?
Yes. See, here, not only in India, all over the world, people never expected this type of crisis, and then everyone was getting confused. And in that also there were like authorities, because they are held responsible for health of the people. They were taking such some decisions which were what we can looking odd. Like, for simple example, this lockdown. Now the purpose of lockdown is that if the virus is in some person, say one host gets the viral infection, so the person is open case, what we call open case, in the sense that person can become a source, he becomes a carrier for infecting others for say a period of 5 days or 6 days or 7 days, and after that the virus stops multiplying, that person doesn't remain carrier. So if everyone, even infected people, are they're just not allowed to mix with the other people, then the spread stops. And if this happens for say 5 days or 6 days or 1 week, then the spread would stop. This is hypothetically possible. But what happens now, life situation is such that some people have gone out of headquarters there where they are, it is not easy to keep them at that. They are like people who are in workplace, who have gone for some tour, so there would be relaxations on that. Then health workers means what, they come in like almost in millions, so they are allowed to move. So the life, people need to eat, people need to drink water, people, the drainage system, the you just can't have ideal lockdown suddenly in 24 hours. And therefore to implement it also was very, the authorities were not trained. We have seen police people having a drone watching the colony, and if someone comes out of house, they used to chase, and they used to go to house and beat them, punish them. Means because everyone did not realize like why this is there.
But going out of the house could be one of the best things. Getting into the sun, for example, getting in the sun.
Yes, but like they feel that they would mix with the people, and one doesn't know who is carrier and who is potential, receiver of it. And therefore, the authorities who are implementing lockdown, they themselves were under confusion. Like we, that time during lockdown, we couldn't come to clinic even for collecting medicine. The police people refused, in spite of me having showing the ID card that I'm a doctor. They said doctor means it should be authorized by government that you are for COVID. Otherwise, even you are not allowed to go. It's like this. So there was a lot of confusion, especially first 6 months, and by then, so it was already spread. But this criticism that lockdown has to be guarded, in the sense, the vulnerable population who are likely to get it or who are likely to suffer from it, that population should be restricted, isolated, so that they are not exposed to infection. Plus, the people who are suspected to have infection, who would be carriers, they should be isolated. But our population, you see, not educated or trained to follow this. People don't realize. I have seen people wearing mask, and then nicely when they are on the dining table, they remove the mask and talk with each other. So what is the point of wearing mask for the whole day when you are talking and when you are eating? Even in airports where they are centrally air conditioned, we have seen that some people, they take tea, just open it and start taking tea. So what is the point? You are wearing mask for a few hours and you remove it for 2 minutes and you get the infection.
But I have heard that there are many masks that cannot inhibit the spray.
Yes, but see, these are all like screenings where the possibility is less, probability. You can't have that sort of a mask. That also you take at least few weeks to realize like which mask will bar the transmission. That's difficult to say. But definitely mask would help the person also, so that person won't interact, or even if droplets are there, they would fall on the mask, will not directly enter the mucosa. So if people get those viral load on skin, it can't multiply on skin. It needs to have contact with the mucous membrane. So definitely mask would help temporarily. Like vulnerability is definitely low if we are wearing mask. But even people don't know, there was a lot of confusion that how many layers, then how to clean it, even washing. I have seen many people going on washing hands again and again with soap so many times, even with this sanitizer, and their skin got irritated. Finally we have to advise them like what sanitizer you have to use. Like we generally recommend, or as a director, that neem based, alcohol based sanitizer, which skin can take it easily. That type of sanitizer is fine, but some sanitizers, they, like if it contains carbolic acid, it would just consume the skin.
So, what would be the benefit of a major lockdown in India now with this new variant?
Yeah. Now people have learned a lot of lesson. So even if there would be lockdown, it should be disciplined, systematic, and people, there would be utmost clarity. Like how even if you go out, so how you will be preventing the transmission and all. How you will be wearing mask. How much distance you will be keeping. Little vulnerability, people themselves will isolate themselves if they are suspectedly having infection.
So, the last question I'm going to ask you is about vaccination for the new variant.
Yes, that's what, like, this race will go on. This race will go on. Like for certain variant, you have the vaccination, but then it becomes a futile exercise for the next variant. So this race will go on. The best, alternative is that everyone has to be trained to, build own immunity. And I'm sure this new variant Omicron, I have put on Twitter also, that most likely if the transmissibility is such that it is spreading, but if its virulence is low, the toxicity is poor, people will develop immunity, and that will be the most nature's vaccination, I tell you. That this will definitely be, so it is not possible, the way the transmissibility is there. Even if you invent some effective vaccination against it. It's not easy to vaccinate population in the period of 6 months. Imagine, India has 130 crore population. Out of that, even if you consider above 18, should be around 100 crores. And vaccinating 100 crore means 6 months. In that, though, this will definitely spread. So, best policy is to induce or develop own immunity in the people so that they are well trained to manage. Like, very simple. If you get COVID infection and people, had enough rest, had taken ample of fluid, hydrated well, rest, proper sleep, they could cope with it. But people who neglected it, they did not sleep properly, they did not hydrate themselves properly, they did not take vitamin C containing vegetables or fruits, then they suffered a lot. So we have to train population to face it. That's the only alternative.
One last question on a spiritual basis. If one could go to the samadhi, would one get COVID?
They shouldn't get. Actually, we always feel that we are deprived of some spiritual master of like mother type. Mother, what work she has done in Japan, that's commendable work. So we don't know, in some form mother would come to cope with this. So collectively the whole population will be protected with it. Definitely, from occult side, if we see, these are all the negative energies. Virus is just a medium, be it COVID or be it dengue or whatever. So definitely there is some negative entity which has come into being or into like activated
And
form.
using the COVID.
Using, yeah, this may be just a means or vector. So I hope there would be some collective work from that aspect, that spiritually we are able to counter these negative forces. So definitely, I'm sure people must be working on this. Like individually, people have been doing it here. Like we conduct Havan, Mahamrityunjay mantra. Last 8 months we have been doing it. Every Saturday we conducted Mahamrityunjay mantra for 1 hour, invoking divine force to undertake this control of this menace of COVID-19.
And this mantra is not limited to a given area. It can spread throughout the world.
Yes. We were doing it online. Many people used to join. Someone from Bombay, someone from Russia, someone from Delhi, and people used to join, and we used to have it, these sessions under Swami Taponidhi. He's from Bihar School of Yoga, Swami Niranjananand's disciple. So we have been conducting Havans regularly. So there are efforts from spiritual community where they can counter that way. Because see, even Mother has written a lot about it. Even we say, even the World War, the Hitler, so-called Hitler, was just a medium. It was the negative entities which were possessing, had that person in the possession, and that person was acting under the influence. So there have been communities where they were collectively working to counter these negative forces, and they were successful. The very purpose of Mother going to Japan was that. So I'm sure these efforts are going on consciously. Consciously, people have been doing it, and they will be successful.
Do you see, I'm sorry, but I just have more questions. Do you see that the pharmaceutical industry is doing this primarily for profit?
I don't think. See, they are brainwashed people. I don't think. See, if they want to earn, they would just organize a dacoity. Why they need to do this? Creating a havoc and spreading the disease and all. I don't think. There can be accidental leakages. Accidental leakages. Like some research going on some virus and then it escapes the laboratory. This is possibility. But I don't think collectively people will undertake this type of thing. They don't need. But what happens? This producing vaccination. If this thing comes, they may think of taking disadvantage of this situation. Like we have seen many hospitals. Irrationally, they were charging for simple admission. We have seen our first patient whom we treated in May 2020. He was admitted in very popular hospital in Bombay. I don't want to name it. Yes. That hospital charged 25,000 rupees per day for an ordinary room, which shouldn't have been more than 3,000. Or see, there is no government tax or any consultation service tax on hospitals. But even then, this person was charged 25,000 rupees per day for a room and a very rubbish diet. That's all. And fortunately, the moment he was suspected to have COVID, after having CT scan, he started taking homeopathy. And next day, the result came that he is positive. And that time, too, scare was there. So he was admitted to very good hospital in Bombay. And those doctors told, you don't have any other symptoms more than fever and cold and all. You carry on with what you are taking. They allowed him to take homeopathy and what. And they said, if your oxygen saturation falls or you feel breathless or some toxicity is there, we will intervene. And those charges you have to pay extra. Like if oxygen is given or ICU admission or whatever. But room rent he paid, he was there for 8-10 days, he recovered and he came out. But for that he had to shell out 2,50,000 rupees. A middle class person, he gets salary of like 12 to 15 lakhs per year and he had to shell out 2,50,000 in the hospital only as a room rent.
And weren't they also, there were some irregularities with the oxygen bottles?
No, but there was some, there used to be rumor that the person hospital is saving oxygen because like they are not giving oxygen freely to old people because they are old, so they need to save it for younger people and all that. But I don't think that was the case. Okay. It was actually sort of a mismanagement, like because of lockdown, even transports were not working properly. It was really a chaos, I tell you. It was really a good lesson we had to learn.
Oh, today has been a very special day. Thank you so much. Namaste. Namaste.